Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. 47 degrees and sunny, very few clouds, and it's really been nice today. Unfortunately, I can't really enjoy it too much because 2 days ago, I got a shot in the arm here. See that big red spot? Shingle shot. Now, if you remember, I got the first one a few months back, and apparently what you do is you get 2 shots for it. You get the first one, and then you have to wait a few months, and then you get a second one, and then that's it. Well, I got my second one, and the first one I didn't get no side effects from it. Okay, all I did was I just got a bruising, and and that went away. But this time, I got all the fucking side effects. It felt like I was coming down with the flu. And I looked it up online to see if there was side effects to it, and I saw all of them, and it's like, oh Christ, I got every one of these fucking things. So yeah, it was bad yesterday. It's not as bad today, but I still feel kind of, energy depleted, and I still feel like, like I got muscle aches and stuff like that, sort of like you feel before you get a flu. But last night I had the chills, and Christ, I had the heat up on high, and I was still like, shaking, and my stomach wasn't all that great, it was just terrible. It was terrible. I tried to sleep, and and Smokey, of course, just sitting there jumping on my face every 2 minutes, wanting to play, but I was in no mood for it. So anyway, yeah, so I've been going through that, and I'm still recovering from it. It's amazing how that fucking shot did that. It's like I wasn't expecting, because like I said, the first shot didn't do anything except just make a bruise, but that second one, fuck. But I'm glad that's it. No more fucking shingle shots, okay? That's it. Enough. I'm not a goddamn pincushion, for Christ's sake. Enough of this. I'm happy about the VA clinic, but boy, do they try to keep their veterans alive, and free of any fucking problems. Christ, every little thing, that they can think of to poke you with, they're going to give it to you, and I feel like, there's got to be a point where I could say, look, I don't want it or something, but no, it's, same thing with colonoscopies. They keep you on that all the fucking time, almost every, 2 years or something, and then I get a hearing check and a vision check, and, Christ, a dental check, and it's like, the average person in this country will be lucky to have any one of those things maybe once or twice in their lifetime, but every fucking month. Jesus, I think there's a little bit too much pampering when it comes to veterans' health. For a lot of veterans, they can't drive 2 or 3 hours to go to the nearest clinic to do these things, okay? So, they need to consider the fact that, hey, look, do the most important things first, okay? If they ask, can I see the dentist, then set them up for an appointment. If they don't ask, then don't fucking do it. Jesus, But yeah, no, they don't. They look on a chart and say, it's been a while since you went and had your hearing checked. Let's go do that. It's like, well, I didn't ask for it. Christ. I mean, I got a thing in the mail the other day. They wanted me to do a sleep test at home. Because for some reason, and I don't know where that came from, somebody thought that I had sleep apnea. It's like, who fucking put that order in? I talked to my primary doctor there, Kavanaugh. No, I didn't do it. Talk to my pharmacist. Nope, I didn't do it. It's like, well, where did this order come from? A sleep test. I didn't ask for that. So, I don't know. It's just, sometimes it's a pain in the ass all the time, unless I have a problem that really is interfering with my pleasure of life here, okay? I ain't going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to accept, what I get, and that's it. I'm not going to keep pressing and pressing all the time. Oh, I got an itch here. And oh, my elbow, can you kiss it? Fuck that. We veterans have taken much more than shit than that, okay? We're tough. We're fucking tough. Jesus. Some of us have been shot. Some of us missing a limb. And the VA wants to treat the veterans like little babies, or something. It's like, come on. I mean, I understand you got a mandate here of Jesus. But, I mean, look, unless the veteran himself or herself is saying, look, I could use this, my jaw hurts or something like that. Okay, fine. But don't just keep scheduling them all the time for different things when it's, it's wasting time. Doctor checks you out. Well, you look fine. It's like, well, what did you have me come down here for? Jesus Christ, I don't know. Anyway, I shouldn't complain, I guess, but sometimes it gets to be annoying as hell, Mary hell, because every month I get at least 4 appointments at the clinic. Each month, about 4 appointments. That's a lot of time to be spending at the fucking clinic there, So, I don't know. Anyway, I got a couple of videos, and this first one is from Dollamore Daily. And he's going to be talking about how Trump is attacking the Smithsonian over black history. Stuff that's in there, oh boy. Anyway, let's go to that video there, and we'll talk about that on the other side.
Donald Trump's attempt, his concerted effort to erase the accomplishments of black Americans, is something I've been talking about, covering it. And it continues in a very dangerous way that reaches beyond the power of the presidency itself. I want to read a couple things here. I've got an AP article I want to read a couple paragraphs from. I've got an executive order from yesterday from Donald Trump. And I have proof that it is not within his power to commandeer, to hijack, to overtake in a hostile takeover the Smithsonian Institute, where he is specifically attacking the Black History Museum, the African American History and Culture Museum here, which, by the way, if you haven't gone, is a fantastic visit. It's a wonderful new addition to the Smithsonian lineup of museums here. Unbelievable displays and installations there. But let me read just, I'll put this on screen. This is his executive order. I want to read just a little bit from it to give you a flavor for the propaganda and the lies. And then we're going to get to why it's not within his purview as the President of the United States. But here we go. This is Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. The man who doesn't even know what year the Spanish flu was, who continues to ramble about conspiracy theories and lies and that the 2020 election was stolen or rigged or whatever. This is not someone we can rely upon for an accurate read on history when even the basics, like the Spanish flu of 1917, he gets one thing in his head and then he just sticks with it. Again, Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. By the authority vested in me as the president, by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. It's already off to a bad start. We'll get to it about the legal nature and the founding of the Smithsonian Institution. It's not within his purview to do any of this. Section 1, Purpose and Policy. Over the past decade, Americans have witnessed a concerted and widespread effort to rewrite our nation's history. Is it on the part of liberals and rational thinking individuals who want to rewrite our history, Donald Trump? Or is it you who wants to ban books and your Republican Party who wants to alter the understanding of history in our country? You want to bolster the lost cause nonsense of the Civil War. You want to re-erect Confederate monuments to traitors to our country. And you want to erase the contributions of Black Americans, of women, of Navajo code talkers. It is white supremacy run amok here. Replacing objective facts with a distorted narrative driven by ideology rather than truth, the revisionist movement seeks to undermine the remarkable achievements of the United States by casting its founding principles and historical milestones in a negative light. Under this historical revision, our nation's unparalleled legacy of advancing liberty, individual rights, and human happiness is reconstructed as inherently racist, sexist, oppressive, or otherwise irredeemably flawed. Rather than fostering unity and a deeper understanding of our shared path, I love that. Fostering unity, he says. A deeper understanding of our shared path. Oh, yes. And widespread effort to rewrite history deepens societal divides and fosters a sense of national shame, disregarding the progress America has made and the ideals that continue to inspire millions around the globe. So he's admitting that some dark, horrific shit has taken place under the auspices of democracy in the United States. Otherwise, why would we need to make progress in any way, Donald Trump? But I love that. Rather than fostering unity and a deeper understanding of our shared past, what is it about our shared past, Donald Trump, that you want people to understand? Is it that we held Black people in bondage under a system that was raping and torturing and murdering them for hundreds of years? Is that the shared past that you want us to remember? Or is that the shared past you don't want taught? You say that white kids feel ashamed to be white because slavery took place in this country. Donald Trump doesn't have any ability legally to do what he is doing. I'm going to read a little bit from this AP article, but let me read this from the Smithsonian website. This is the legal history from the Office of General Counsel. The legal nature of the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian Institution is considered unique in the federal establishment. The Smithsonian is not an executive branch agency and does not exercise regulatory powers except over its own buildings and grounds. Thus, courts have held that the Smithsonian, is not an agency or authority of the government, as those terms are used in certain laws applicable to the executive branch agencies, such as the Privacy Act, the Administrative Procedure Act, the Freedom of Information Act, and the Federal Advisory Committee Act. However, the United States Attorney General has concluded that the Smithsonian is so closely connected to the federal government that it shares the immunity of the United States from state and local regulation. In accordance with this doctrine, local zoning regulations, ABC licensing provisions, sales and use taxes, and real estate taxes are not applicable to the Smithsonian absent a specific federal statute. And then they go through these other instances. Courts have also held that the Smithsonian enjoys the immunity of the United States from lawsuits unless such suits are authorized by Congress under federal statutes. And they go through there. The Smithsonian operates as a unique fixture in the United States government, and it does not fall under the purview of the President of the United. It's not the Kennedy Center, Donald Trump. You don't just get to remake the board. You don't get to destroy artifacts and things held and owned by the Smithsonian by virtue of that, the government. You are not a king. And all of this is in an effort to erase the contributions of Black Americans, and he has his sights set specifically on the African American History and Culture Museum. I'm getting the full name of it wrong. The National Museum of African American History and Culture. So this is the article from the AP. There's 3 paragraphs I want to read. Trump executive order on Smithsonian targets funding for programs with improper ideology. Let me read 4 paragraphs. I'll read the first one here. President Trump on Thursday revealed his intention to force changes at the Smithsonian Institution with an executive order that targets funding for programs that advance divisive narratives and improper ideology, the latest step in a broadside against culture he deems too liberal. And then here we go. The executive order also hints at the return of statues and monuments of Confederate figures, many of which were taken down or replaced across the country after the police killing, the police murder. He was found guilty of murder. Associated Press. Not just killing, murder. Derek Chauvin murdered George Floyd. Were taken down or replaced around the country after the police murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis in 2020 and the rise of Black Lives Matter movement, which is detested by Donald Trump and other conservatives. Trump singled out the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which opened in 2016 near the White House, the Women's History Museum, which is in development, and the American Art Museum for criticism. Quote, museums in our nation's capital should be places where individuals go to learn, not to be subjected to ideological indoctrination or divisive narratives that distort our shared history, he said. The only this is projection. All the things they're guilty of, they point and accuse others of. The only people that are trying to distort our shared history are Republicans. We want to tell the full story so we don't make the same mistakes we have in the past. We don't want to live in a country that oppresses marginalized groups, that murders members of marginalized groups. We don't want to forget the horrors that have taken place under the guise of white supremacy in this country. We don't want to forget that because we don't want it to happen again. We want to correct the wrongs of the past. That's why I advocate for reparations for descendants of slaves in this country. Donald Trump advocates for reparations for January 6th insurrectionists. He advocates for refugee status for white South Africans because, oh, those scary black people are making it bad for them there. This is white supremacy. This is a concerted effort to erase, at the very least, the contributions of, but I think they would love a white ethno-state. They would love to erase the existence, or at least the residence and citizenship of black people in this country, because they pose a threat to Donald Trump and the order of white supremacy under color of law. What do you think, though? I would invite you to this conversation. You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And, of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollar.
There was people, or I guess probably maggots, that were out there saying, oh, Trump isn't racist or nothing. And that's why a lot of black people were supporting him. They didn't think he was racist. But, you know, I all I had to do was dig up a fucking little list here on Google. Hey! I had to do a little list here that they showed here of all the things that Trump did that was considered, you know, a racist. What is it? Jesus. Anyway, in 1973, the Department of Justice under the Nixon administration, out of all administrations, sued the Trump Management Corporation for violating the Fair Housing Act. Federal officials had found evidence that Trump had refused to rent to black tenants and lied to black applicants about whether apartments were available. Among other accusations, Trump said the federal government was trying to get him to rent to welfare recipients. In the aftermath, he signed an agreement in 1975 agreeing not to discriminate to renters of color without admitting to previous discrimination. In 1980s, Kip Brown, a former employee at Trump's castle, accused another one of Trump's businesses of discrimination. Quote, when Donald and Ivana came to the casino, the bosses would order all the black people off the floor, unquote, Brown said. Quote, it was the 80s. I was a teenager, but I remember it. Of Trump's businesses when Donald and Ivana came to this. Okay, it was the 80s. I was a teenager, but I remember it. They put us all in the back. In 1989, in a controversial case that's been characterized as a modern-day lynching, 4 black teenagers and 1 Latino teenager, the, quote, Central Park 5, unquote, which probably a lot of you remember that, were accused of attacking and raping a jogger in New York City. Trump immediately took charge in the case, running an ad in local papers demanding, quote, bring back the death penalty, bring back our police, unquote. The teens' convictions were later vacated after they spent 7 to 13 years in prison, and the city paid $41 million in a settlement to the teens. But Trump, in October of 2016, said he still believes they're guilty despite the DNA evidence to the contrary. In 1991, a book by John O'Donnell, former president of Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, quoted Trump's criticism of a black accountant. Quote, black guys counting my money, I hate it. The only kind of people I want count my money are short guys that wear yarmulkes every day. I think that the guy is lazy, and it's probably not his fault because laziness is a trait in blacks. It really is. I believe that. It's not anything they can control, unquote. Trump later said in a 1997 Playboy interview that, quote, the stuff O'Donnell wrote about me is probably true, unquote. In 1992, a year later, the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino had to pay $200,000 fine because it transferred black and women dealers off tables to accommodate a big-time gambler's prejudices. In 1993, a year after that, in congressional testimony, Trump said that some Native American reservations operating casinos shouldn't be allowed because, quote, they don't look like Indians to me, unquote. In 2000, in opposition to a casino proposed by the St. Regis Mohawk tribe, which he saw as a financial threat to his casinos in Atlantic City, Trump secretly ran a series of ads suggesting the tribe had a, quote, record of criminal activity that is well documented, unquote. In 2004, in season 2 of The Apprentice, Trump fired Kevin Allen, a black contestant, for being overeducated. Quote, you're an unbelievably talented guy in terms of education and you haven't done anything, unquote. Trump said on the show, quote, at some point you have to say that's enough, unquote. 2005, Trump publicly pitched what was essentially The Apprentice, white people versus black people. He said he wasn't particularly happy with the most recent season of the show, so he was considering, quote, an idea that is fairly controversial, creating a team of successful African Americans versus a team of successful whites. Whether people like that idea or not, it is somewhat reflective of our very vicious world, unquote. I mean, more like his viciousness. In 2010, there was a huge national controversy over the, quote, Ground Zero Mosque, unquote, a proposal to build a Muslim community center in Lower Manhattan near the site of the 9/11 attacks. Trump opposed the project, calling it, quote, insensitive, unquote, and offered to buy out one of the investors in the project. On The Late Show with David Letterman, Trump argued, referring to Muslims, quote, well, somebody's blowing us up, somebody's blowing up buildings, and somebody's doing lots of bad stuff, unquote. 2011, Trump played a big role in pushing false rumors that Obama, the country's first black president, was not born in the U.S. He claimed to send investigators to Hawaii to look into Obama's birth certificate. Obama later released his birth certificate, calling Trump a, quote, carnival barker, unquote. The research has found a strong correlation between birtherism and the conspiracy theory is called and racism, but Trump has reportedly continued pushing this conspiracy theory in private. A second thing in the same year of 2011, while Trump suggested that Obama wasn't born in the U.S., he also argued that maybe Obama wasn't a good enough student to have gotten into Columbia or Harvard Law School, and demanded Obama release his university transcripts. Trump claimed, quote, I heard he was a terrible student. Terrible, how does a bad student go to Columbia and then to Harvard, unquote. Trump launched his campaign in 2015 by calling Mexican immigrants rapists who are bringing crime and bringing drugs to the U.S. His campaign was largely built on building a wall to keep these immigrants out of the U.S. As a candidate in 2015, Trump called for a ban on all Muslims coming into the U.S. His administration eventually implemented a significantly watered-down version of that policy. When asked at a 2016 Republican debate whether all 1.6 billion Muslims hate the U.S., Trump says, quote, "I mean a lot of them. I mean a lot of them," unquote. He argued in 2016 that Judge Gonzalo Curiel, who was overseeing the Trump University lawsuit, should recuse himself from the case because of his Mexican heritage and membership into a Latino lawyers association. He argued in 2016 that Judge Gonzalo Curiel, who was, House Speaker Paul Ryan, who endorsed Trump, later called such comments, quote, "the textbook definition of a racist comment," unquote. Trump has been repeatedly slow to condemn white supremacists who endorse him, and he regularly retweeted messages from white supremacists and neo-Nazis during his presidential campaign. He tweeted and later deleted an image that showed Hillary Clinton in front of a pile of money and by a Jewish Star of David that said, quote, "most corrupt candidate ever," unquote. The tweet had some very obvious anti-Semitic imagery, but Trump insisted that the star was a sheriff's badge and said his campaign shouldn't have deleted it. Trump has repeatedly referred to Senator Elizabeth Warren as Pocahontas, using her controversial and later walk-back claims to Native American heritage as a punchline. In the 2016 Republican convention, Trump officially seized the mantle of the law and order candidate, an obvious dog whistle playing to white fears of black crime. Even though crime in the U.S. Is historically low, his speeches, comments, and executive actions after he took office had continued this line of messaging. In a pitch to black voters in 2016, Trump said, quote, "you're living in poverty, your schools are no good, you have no jobs, 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell have you done? What the hell do you have to lose?" Unquote. Trump stereotyped a black reporter at a press conference in February 2017 when April Ryan asked him if he plans to meet and work with the Congressional Black Caucus. He repeatedly asked her to set up the meeting, even as she insisted that she's, quote, "just a reporter," unquote. In the week after white supremacist protests in Charlottesville, Virginia in August of 2017, Trump repeatedly said that, quote, "many sides and both sides were to blame for the violence and chaos that ensued," suggesting that the white supremacist protesters were morally equivalent to counter-protesters who stood against racism. He also said that there were, quote, "some very fine people," unquote, among the white supremacists. All of this seemed like a dog whistle to white supremacists, and many of them took it as one with white nationalist Richard Spencer praising Trump for, quote, "defending the truth," unquote. Throughout 2017, Trump repeatedly attacked NFL players who, by kneeling or otherwise silently protesting during the national anthem, demonstrated against systemic racism in America. Trump reportedly said in 2017 that people who came to the U.S. from Haiti, quote, "all have AIDS," unquote, and he lamented that people who came to the U.S. from Nigeria would never, quote, "go back to their huts," unquote. Once they saw America, the White House denied that Trump ever made these comments, of course. Speaking about immigration in a bipartisan meeting in January of 2018, Trump reportedly asked in reference to Haiti and African countries, quote, "why are we having all these people from shithole countries come here," unquote. He then reportedly suggested that the U.S. should take more people from countries like Norway. The implication, immigrants from predominantly white countries are good, while immigrants from predominantly black countries are bad. Trump denied making the quote-unquote shithole comments, although some senators present at the meeting said that it happened. The White House, meanwhile, suggested that the comments like Trump's remarks about the NFL protests will play well to his base. The only connection between Trump's remarks about the NFL protests and his quote-unquote shithole comments is race. Trump mocked Elizabeth Warren's presidential campaign against calling her Pocahontas in a 2019 tweet before adding, quote, "See you on the campaign trail, Liz," unquote. The capitalized, quote-unquote, trail is seemingly a reference to the Trail of Tears, a horrific act of ethnic cleansing in the 19th century in which Native Americans were forcibly relocated, causing thousands of deaths. Trump tweeted later that year that several black and brown members of Congress, Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Ian Omar, and Rashida Tlaib, are from, quote, countries whose governments are a complete and total catastrophe, unquote, and that they should, quote, go back, unquote, to those countries. It's a common racist trope to say that black and brown people, particularly immigrants, should go back to their countries of origin. 3 of the 4 members of Congress whom Trump targeted were born in the United States. Trump has called the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus the, quote, Chinese virus, unquote, and, quote, Kung flu, unquote. The World Health Organization advises against linking a virus to any particular region, since it can lead to stigma. Trump's advisors, Kellyanne Conway, previously described the term of Kung flu as highly offensive. Meanwhile, Asian Americans have reported hateful incidents targeting them due to the spread of the coronavirus. That's the reason why he said it. Trump suggested that Kamala Harris, who's black and South Asian, doesn't meet the requirements to be former vice president and Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden's running mate. Yet another example of birtherism. Okay, I know that was a long list, but with all that and what Dollemore Daily there just talked about, doesn't that can all be said as evidence that he's a racist pig? And that's the reason why he's going after the Smithsonian, okay? Because if I would just say he's racist, people would say, oh no, he never did anything wrong. Well, I just read to you pages and pages of shit that he's done since the 1970s, things that he's done, things that he said, that prove that he is a racist, okay? God only knows what he says when there's no cameras around. Jesus, you know, I can just imagine the kind of shit that comes out of his mouth. But the thing of it is that this is the reason why he's attacking them over that, okay? He's trying to shut it down. And this bullshit here about, you know, we need to, we can't indoctrinate our kids to things. No, learning about the truth is not a fucking indoctrination. It's what's expected of the adults to impart on their children, to learn about history. And like he said in the video, I mean, we don't want to make the same mistakes, which Trump is trying to do right now. He's trying really hard to make the same mistakes. If he can bring back slavery, he'd fucking do it, okay? No, make no mistake about that. I know that sounds extreme, but who would have thought, you know, a year ago, we would be where we are today? Nobody would, no, that's not true. You guys are just exaggerating. That's what we would have heard if we'd have said this like eight months ago. If we'd have said, yeah, he's going to do this and that. Because that's what I was getting. When I was talking about Project 2025, they thought that was bullshit. They wouldn't even read it. And when I was telling them what was going to happen if he got into power, no, you're just exaggerating. You're just a liberal propagandist. Well, here we are, and it's all happening. And the thing of it is that a lot of these MAGA people are out there right now sounding the bell to oppose Trump. These people who thought, you know, for sure that Trump was going to be a good thing for this country, now they understand. The Democrats weren't lying. They weren't lying. They knew something that we didn't. You know what we knew? We knew the facts. Okay? And we didn't have to dig that far back. All we had to do was look at his last term as president. And we knew right there. And why would we want to go back to that? Trump lost by a landslide against Joe Biden because this country despised his ass by the time he finished those 4 years. He did nothing for this country. It was worse, okay, than when he started. All he had to do was sit there and float on Obama's, what he had done, what he had started. That's all he had to do as president, and he could have finished, you know, maybe he might have gotten himself a second term right after. But no, he got in there, and just like what he's doing now, he brought a sledgehammer with him, okay? And he ruined the country. And then the way he handled the COVID pandemic was ridiculous. So people in America had it up to here with him by the time his 4 years are over. We're reliving all this now. Only this time, we're already up to here after just 2.5 months with him. So, how is it going to be at the end of the year? I don't know. But it's certainly not going to be pretty. This summer is going to shape up to be one hell of a fucking problem here for the Trump administration and MAGA. Okay, there's already people out there by the thousands, okay, protesting in various places in the country, in front of Tesla places, and and just in front of government buildings. People are out there protesting. There's a big one coming up in April here. So I mean, it's just people are really getting pissed, and the more he continues to do what he's doing, the worse the protesting is going to get. He doesn't seem to take the hint that what you're doing is not popular. It's not what the majority of the country wants. Okay? What you're doing is not what we want. But he doesn't care because it's what he wants. What he wants is more important than what 350 million Americans want. Okay? That, to me, that's not a president. He's supposed to represent us. Okay? Just like all the representatives we got there, they're in there for themselves. Almost all of them. They forget. I was put here because the majority of the people in my state wanted me here. So I got to do what they want me to do. I don't come here to do what I want to do. I come here to do what they expect me to do for them. That's the way a representative is supposed to be. If you work in Washington, D.C., you got to put aside your own personal ambitions. Because if, hey, you want to do that, then you support somebody else to do that. But the thing of it is that you can't go in there with an agenda of your own. Because it seems like a lot of times their personal agenda does not agree with the masses of the country here. So that's the thing that got lost here over the years about politicians, is they go there to do what they want. But they don't go there doing what the majority of the people in their districts and their states want. And we need to get back to that. All right, so let's go to a commercial break, and then we'll come to the next video.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you. Original.
Okay, Vladimir, it's time to sign the ceasefire. No. Vladimir, it's time.
Time for me to say no.
How about yes?
Make me.
Well, look, you look. Right now, you're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. I'm not playing cards. I'm very serious, Mr. President. I'm very serious. You're playing cards. You're gambling with lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. What are you speaking about?
And what you're doing is very disrespectful to my country.
A country that backed you far more than a lot of people said we should have.
Have you said thank you once?
What the hell is JD doing on this call?
He's right. Have you said thank you once in this meeting?
And I've said thank you, frankly, a lot of times, even today. So let's sign the ceasefire.
Okay. Let's not.
Elon Musk's rockets keep blowing up. Pieces falling out of the sky. Airports across Florida shut down. Planes are crashing. Near misses. Dangerous. What are Donald Trump and Elon Musk doing? Slashing the Federal Aviation Administration, the one government agency that protects you in the sky. It's crazy. Elon Musk doesn't care. He doesn't fly like the rest of us. For him, it's private planes, private airports. But there's another reason Elon Musk wants to gut the FAA. It's the agency that regulates his rockets that keep blowing up. The FAA has fined Musk's rocket company hundreds of thousands of dollars. Oh, by the way, you're paying for those exploding rockets. Musk gets billions from taxpayers. He wants to build spaceships to take billionaires to Mars. Yeah, nuts. Elon Musk is out of control.
I can't get hard, not even with the blue pills. Will the salt trick work for me? All right, pay attention. If you're over 35 and not as firm as you should be, or if you're popping the champagne a little too early, I highly recommend the salt trick. In just 20 seconds, you can prepare this drink, and your anaconda will stand tall for hours, almost immediately. This homemade salt tonic has been used for years by Brahmin bull breeders in India to help them stay firm and mate with up to 20 females at once. But a few years ago, this trick fell into the hands of the adult film industry, and since then, this little secret has been used by adult actors instead of the little blue pill. That's because it works in just minutes, flushing out flaccid toxins from your body that make your buddy shrink and fail when it matters most. It may sound crazy, but this drink is 6 times more powerful than any pill from the pharmacy, and because it's natural, it has no side effects. And if you haven't heard about it yet, it's the company behind the little blue pill, starting with P, that censors anyone who talks about this cheap, homemade solution. That way, they continue raking in billions every year from the suffering of millions of men just like you. But I'm putting an end to that right now. I'm releasing the short video that shows how to prepare and use the salt trick. Back then, this video was sold for $47, or they would have taken it down immediately. But so you can start the year off right. I'm leaving this video free for the next 3 hours. In the video, it shows step by step how to prepare this 20-second trick today and leave your wife with limp legs tonight. Just click the button that's appearing somewhere in this video to watch. If a page opens, it means the video is still available, and this might be your only chance to toss the little blue pill in the trash and learn how to make this homemade, safe recipe that's 6 times more powerful than the pharmacy pill. But I should warn you, this video contains some pretty hot scenes, and it also shows an African green tonic used by tribes in North Africa to grow their tool to the point of outgrowing all their underwear. Do not use if you're already too big or satisfied with your size, and also how to eliminate the flaccid toxins that are sabotaging your hardness and shrinking your little guy like a turtle. Watch with headphones on. As I mentioned, the video is uncensored and shows exactly how this trick works to make your buddy rock hard. So click the link below and watch while it's still available.
Holy fuck.
Were you just checking out her ass?
No, I wasn't.
You know what? Fuck this.
Wait, babe, calm down. Oh my god. Mary! I am sorry!
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Every day is a good day to ride. Bike life is the best life. If you know, you know. Now, are you riding? Or are you hiding?
Okay, welcome back everybody. All right, before I go to the video, there's this little thing I want to read here. It says, top Senate Republican protests Trump bid to withhold spending. Senator Susan Collins of Maine, the chairwoman of the Appropriations Committee, joined top Democrats in insisting that the president does not have the power to, quote, pick and choose, unquote, what to fund. Okay, well, that's nice, but you know what? I don't expect that she's going to stand on that for very long, okay? She's a caver. You know what I'm saying? She's a caver, and anyone thinking that, oh, she's changed her... No, forget it. She hasn't changed her fucking tune. She's just... I think what she's doing is she's just doing what will benefit her, because she's been getting a lot of fucking heat there from people in Maine about the things that, you know, she's been doing here. You know, and forget about that. You know, this thing about signal and all that, that's just bullshit. I mean, Christ, somebody's head is going to have to roll for this, okay? Somebody's going to have to roll. That's the only way this bullshit stops. In the meantime, people are going to keep harping about this. And Pete Hegseth, Christ, he's only been what in his job for 2.5 months, and already he presided over the biggest goddamn data breach in American history. Okay, and it's like, you know, we warned MAGA that this guy was unqualified. Okay, he was just a mouth on Fox News, you know, who happened to be, you know, someone who served in the military for a while. But that certainly wasn't enough to qualify him for the job he was given. And hey, he just proved it. He just proved it. But, you know, we people really need to call for his head on a platter, because he can't do his job. But I still say, and I still believe, you know, and this is just my theory, but Jeffrey Goldberg seemed to have that same theory too. The person that was, the journalist that was kind of invited into the conversation, but nobody actually talked to him. I think it was a setup. I think because they didn't like Jeffrey Goldberg to begin with, and they invited him into a chat group where all kinds of information was being spewed on there that shouldn't have been spewed. I think they were trying to set him up. As a reporter, they figure, oh, he's going to run with this and print it, and when he does, we're going to nail him for disseminating top secret information, and we can put him in prison for fucking the rest of his life. I think that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to go on the offensive against the journalist. Okay, I think that's what it was, and it backfired, because what he did wasn't exactly what they expected. He printed a story about it, but he didn't put anything in there that he felt was very sensitive data. Okay, and he knew better, and that's the reason why at the hearings, Tulsi Gabbard wouldn't answer any fucking questions about what was said. She says, oh, none of it was classified, but yet she wouldn't say what exactly was said. So that means it was classified. All right? That was deliberately done to get rid of a fucking reporter. They don't like him. Even Trump doesn't like him. Okay? And whenever Trump doesn't like someone, okay, you know it's because they're getting too close to the truth about, you know, something that they don't want exposed. So... I think Jeffrey Goldberg was a hero, really, and he was a smart hero, because I think his experience has shown that things like that have happened before with reporters, where they're kind of, you know, they step into traps, and they get compromised, and he felt that was a trap that was being set for him. And like in his report, he wouldn't lay down exactly word for word that was said, and he certainly didn't put in the very sensitive parts of the conversation that was being spoken about on a fucking chat room. Okay, but I really think they were trying to get this guy. I really do. You know, and it wouldn't be outside of the realm of possibility when you think about Donald Trump and these thugs that he's got working with him. You know. And that's what they are. They're thugs. They don't have any knowledge about what they're doing. They're just sitting in seats of power and abusing their power. Okay? So they're just thugs. So anyway, this other video is from Kyle Kulinski, and he's reporting that child labor laws are being lifted to fill slots that were once occupied by the immigrants that got deported out of this country. Okay, which is good news for the businesses because, hey, that means they don't have to pay these workers as much because they're kids. But, of course, there's issues with that. So let's go to that video here, and we'll talk about that on the other side.
2024 election is the stark difference between red states and blue states and what they were doing and how they were acting and the policies they were pursuing. And at the same time, we saw blue state after blue state do free school breakfast and lunch for kids. We saw red states literally rolling back child labor law. You can't get a starker difference, right? This is why it's very clear to everybody with a functioning brain at this point. The both sides fraud, the false equivalence fraud, it's done. It's over. Oh, yeah, but both parties are kind of the same. That's what a dumb guy thinks a smart guy believes, right? That's somebody who doesn't read the news, doesn't follow politics, and they think they have this holier-than-thou position. Oh, both parties are kind of the same, bro. No, they're fucking not. No, they're not. Which is why Democratic states are giving free school breakfast and lunch to kids, and Republican states aren't doing that, and they're bringing back child labor, right? There are some areas where they're too similar, and that's the core of the fight within the Democratic Party. We need real opposition to Trump, real opposition to fascism and the robber barons, right? For sure. But they're not the same. They're just not the same. You have one party that's a center-right party, that's the Democrats, and one party that is fucking off the spectrum, fascist, authoritarian, Attila the Hunism. Now we have an update on this. Florida debates lifting some child labor laws to fill jobs vacated by undocumented immigrants. Holy shit. Holy shit. They all made a big stink about, oh, bro, the reason we got to deport the undocumented immigrants is to give better job prospects to the American people who can't get a job because the immigrants are stealing their jobs. And now they're like, bring in the 13-year-olds, please. Bring in the 13-year-olds. And by the way, we could pay the 13-year-olds even less. Yay! Hooray! Big business ruins everything. Yippee skippy! All right, here we go. Florida has been working for years to crack down on employers that hire undocumented immigrants, but that presented a problem for businesses in the state that are desperate for workers to fill low-wage and often undesirable jobs. Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis and the state legislature have a potential solution. Children. The state's legislature on Tuesday advanced a bill that would loosen child labor laws, allowing children as young as 14 years old to work overnight shifts. 14-year-olds working overnight shifts. Are you mental? If the new laws pass, teenagers would be able to work overnight jobs on school days. They are currently prevented from working earlier than 6:30 a.m. or later than 11 p.m. per state law. Even that's too... Oh my God. The bill passed through the Florida Senate's Commerce and Tourism Committee on Tuesday with 5 votes in favor of the loosened child labor restrictions and 4 against. Let me guess which party they belong to. The bill will pass through 2 other relevant committees before being put to a vote with the full Florida Senate. DeSantis is supportive of the law and has been vocal of cracking down on immigration, echoing President Trump's rhetoric. However, economists have warned that could backfire, sparking further inflation and labor shortages. You don't say. Why do we say we need to import foreigners, even import them illegally, when you know teenagers used to work at these resorts? College students should be able to do this stuff, DeSantis said last week at a panel discussion with Border czar Tom Homan. By the way, let's be clear. That's a straw man too, because a lot of these, in red states, a lot of these rules that they're rolling back are also to allow children to work in dangerous jobs, like meat facilities. So they're just lying. They're just scumbags. They are just scumbags. No free school breakfast, no free school lunch, but get your ass in the factory, little Timmy. A Florida law was signed in 2023 requiring employers with more than 25 employees to check their immigration status using a federal database known as E-Verify. Employers who don't comply with the law face fines of $1,000 per day until they provide proof that their workers are legal. So anyway, this goes on here. But I thought this was a great point too. Shout out to Melanie Diarigo. So in Florida is where politicians pass laws allowing the companies giving them campaign donations to exploit kids as dirt cheap labor, and where they ban children's books so they can pretend they're protecting kids. That is such a devastating point. Florida went on a fucking book banning spree, because God forbid a kid learns about anything LGBTQ or anything racial, right? Ban those books to protect the children, but also get your ass into the mine, bitch. All right, maybe not a mine, but you get the point. Get your ass in the factory. All the fucking virtue signaling they do about always protecting kids. Meanwhile, literally every other day, there's a new story about some MAGA asshole who was caught being a fredophile. And we've covered some of them on this show. There's a laundry list of these people. All right, and I got one more for you to give you some background. So this article is from 2023. Republicans continue effort to erode U.S. child labor rules despite teen deaths. Read that headline. Then read it one more time. Then read it one more time after that. Violations have soared, but legislative efforts to strengthen protections for young workers have received little support. You don't say. So, by the way, it's actually not just red states. Some blue states, too, unfortunately, have moved in the wrong direction on this. But, to be fair, really for officially rolling back the rules and laws, it really is predominantly the red states. In some blue states, under the table, they will employ people who are too young. They'll employ kids, but they get caught, they get fined, etc. But that's the other problem is the government agency that does that, they fucking destroyed it. It's been underfunded forever, but now, of course, Elon's probably going to fucking destroy it completely. But here, let me give you some of the numbers in this story are crazy. Child labor violations have been soaring in the U.S., but efforts to render solutions through legislation have received little support, and Republicans at the state level continue pushing bills that will roll back current child labor protections. In the most recent fiscal year, the U.S. Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division reported 835 cases of child labor violations affecting 3,876 minors and 688 minors employed in violation of hazardous occupation, a 283% increase since 2015. So this is becoming a bigger problem. Civil penalties against employers totaled just under 4.3 million. By the way, that's the other part of the problem. Just a fine is not good enough. This should be criminally, you should be able to charge this criminally. If you got some fucking 12-year-old working for you in a dangerous job and they're there until fucking 1 o'clock in the morning, the person who's employing him, you're a criminal. You should be locked up. The Department of Labor has pushed to ramp up enforcement against child labor and the exploitation of migrant child labor. So again, this was during the Biden years. But the Wage and Hour Division remains too underfunded and too understaffed to protect workers adequately. At the state level, labor departments also saw sharp increases in child labor violations last year. A record number of employers were cited for child labor violations in Washington and New York. The state labor department reported a 68% increase in child labor violations in 2022. This year, harrowing child labor violations were reported by officials, including 3 teens who were killed on the job during the summer. In June, 16-year-old William Hampton was killed in Lee Summit, Missouri, while working at a recycling park when he was pinned between a semi-truck and a trailer. OSHA, the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Administration, is still investigating the incident. Later that same month, 16-year-old Michael Scholes was killed at a sawmill in Wisconsin while operating hazardous machinery that was illegal for the worker to operate at that age. The same employer, Florence Hardwoods, was found in violation of numerous other child labor laws and settled a fine of $190,000. No, see, that person should be in jail. That person should be in jail. And this is part of the problem, right? We don't treat corporate criminals like the criminals they are. They always get a little slap on the wrist, a little fine here or there. They never get what they really deserve, right? In my mind, this is way more egregious and way more horrific than somebody who robs some Cheetos from a convenience store, right? Our priorities are all out of whack. The Wall Street fraudster should be in jail for life. Assholes like this should be in jail for fucking life. They should be. At the state level, Republicans have led efforts to roll back child labor protections with bills introduced in at least 16 states, including Arkansas and Iowa, who've enacted laws to roll back child labor protections. 16 red states are like, more of this. They should be able to work throughout the night. They should be able to work hazardous jobs. What the fuck is this country becoming? What stage of capitalism is this? Where at the same time the social safety net is obliterated, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, at the same time red states say, no free school, breakfast, and lunch for you. They say, go work a dangerous job until the middle of the night and maybe die doing it. There's been a corporate takeover of our government and a robber baron takeover of our government, and this is the fucking result. It is a hellscape out there. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time.
Oh, boy. Hey, overnight shifts for 14-year-olds, okay, that's criminal. These kids have to go to school, okay? So what are they doing? They try to overwork these kids so they won't go to school and they'll be dumber? You know, I mean, is that kind of what's going on here? You know, and the anti-abortion group out there has come full circle. I mean, this was never about caring for life. This was always about cheap labor practices. You know, they want people to have kids so they throw them into the fucking dungeon there, I guess, in the mines, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. Here's the thing, though. They think that it's going to be ideal to have these youngsters working in places. Okay, I happen to know for a fact and through experience that kids that young are not dependable. Okay, they can screw up an iron ball with a rubber hammer, and if you put them in jobs where, you know, there's safety factors involved, there's, you know, you have to do certain things in handling, let's say if you're in a meat factory, you know, things that you have to do, you can always depend on the kids to find some way to fuck that up. All right, because you can't even get them to do work at home, right? To clean your room and all this shit. And they're always fighting with each other all the time. Okay? So if these people who think they're being smart by getting cheap labor, it's going to be as easy to work with them as it was the immigrants that they kicked out. They got a new thing to learn. Okay, a lot of these people must have forgotten what it was like to be a teenager, because I remember working at a store with people that were young, and I'll tell you, 90% of the time they're goofing off. All right, that's what they're doing, and you know they're just racing around doing nothing, you know, and it's out of control. All right, and the managers end up being babysitters. Now, you think these people that run these places are going to put up with that for long? Come on. I mean, look how they act in school, for Christ's sake. The teachers are, you know, they get burnt out because of the silliness of the kids in the classrooms. So, why do you think they're going to behave better in a fucking workplace? They're not. That's the reason I think that, you know, they're going to learn that this is not such a good idea after all. I don't care if they're paying them less. The damage these kids will do to wherever they're working is going to cost them more. Okay? I just think that it's folly. It really is. It's ridiculous. And if you want to put these kids in the workforce, okay, where they can be screwed over by taxes and stuff like that in their paychecks and shit, then shouldn't we give them the right to vote? You know, I think so. I mean, if you're going to treat these people like regular labor force, okay, then I think they deserve the right to vote, to at least defend their own best interests, right? I mean, what if these kids decide, let's make a union? You know, hey, it only takes one kid to come up with an idea and everybody else will follow suit. And you think they're going to care that the boss doesn't let them have it? No, they'll just say, fuck you, I'm leaving. Because, hey, they got a home to go to. You know, they got a mother and a father at home. They're going to feed them, so they're not going to lose anything. Just their little meager pennies that they get every day at the fucking job. They'll quit. Okay? So, if hiring these kids is going to be the replacement for all the immigrants that were kicked out of here, boy, they're really going to be in for a rude awakening about that. You know, I can't understand why they're still on that trope. You know, we can hire these youngsters. Really? Christ. Oh, boy. Like I said, it's stupid people coming up with stupid ideas, and they're going to get stupid results. And that never changes. And, you know, if they think that they're going to get these kids working and that's going to last, nope. The minute a parent finds that their kid is not doing well in school because he's coming home tired or something, he's going to tell that kid, you quit. You know? So, like I said, it's an idea that I don't think is going to is going to make things easier for companies out there who lost a lot of their workers, okay? Because kids are not dependable. You can't depend on. I mean, I talked to a fucking manager one day about why they don't like hiring college students. Is because when they get time off these big long weeks where they don't go to school, they expect that their job is going to give them that same amount of time off as well. Okay? They figure, if I got 2 weeks off from school, then I should get 2 weeks off at the fucking job I'm at, because they want to enjoy and party. They want that whole thing. Well, that's not the way it works in the real world, okay? If you got a job in the real world, okay, then you're only going to get time off when the holidays come around, or something, if you're sick or whatever, okay? But just because you're a college student and you get time, like these semesters or a spring break or whatever the hell they call it, okay, just because you get that doesn't mean that job you're working at is obligated to have to give you that time off too. And a lot of these college kids will not fucking work if they're denied that. They'll quit. They won't even come back. They just take off. I mean, somebody had told me that one of their workers was in college. They went on a vacation somewhere, and they never came back to their job. They just never showed up. I don't know what happened. They never came back, and so they had to fire. They had to hire somebody else, and so they would prefer to hire adults over kids and college students because they don't have any discipline about doing their job when they're hired. Employees don't want to hire slackers. Okay, they want people that'll hustle, people that'll bust their ass to get a job done. Okay, that ain't kids. And that certainly isn't college students because, hey, their priorities are, when I get through a college, I'm going to get a better job than this shit. So obviously, right off the bat, they're not even serious about working where they're working. And so, like I said, it's ridiculous that, states are looking to lift child labor laws just so they can replenish what they lost for workers. They shouldn't allowed that to happen in the first place. Okay, these people that were picked up and deported were denied due process. It was completely illegal. It was unconstitutional. Okay, and because nobody has been able to do anything to stop them, people think, well, what he's doing is right. No, he's doing all kinds of wrong things, but because our courts aren't able to fucking enforce the things that they're telling him not to do, okay, doesn't make it right. It's still wrong. And so I feel like, there's going to be a whole lot of new problems being created in this country after after Trump, if he ever dies or whatever, however the hell, who comes after, there's going to be a lot of issues that we're going to have to undo in this country. We're certainly going to have to repair our relations with other countries after this. And I'm not sure these other countries are really going to be that interested because I think they found out what I've been saying all along about you cannot trust the United States. Because whatever agreements, whatever things we get into with one administration doesn't have to be followed by the next. And 4 years or 8, whatever was working fine under one administration all of a sudden could stop and all of a sudden go to something else. How can you make agreements with a country that does that changes so fast, that, you can't have, in a business world, that would be dangerous to do business with a company that can change direction like that in a short period of time. It would be, okay? You don't want that. You want these people to remain consistent. So when we sit here and we say we're going to help out this country fight Russia, okay, and the country's behind it, and we're sitting here doing this, all of a sudden the next administration comes in and says we're putting that to a grinding halt, okay? And everybody's like, what? We were depending on you for, our support and everything, and now this, it's, like I said, you cannot trust the United States when it comes to anything like that. You can't. You can't do business with this country. And I don't think any country should ever try to do business with the United States again until we figure out a way to stop that. That when something is implemented, okay, it should remain under a certain agreement for how many years? Okay, it has to be longer than 8 years. If we're going to be committed to helping out a country during that, then we have to sign an agreement that we will remain consistent for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, no matter who the president is, we have to honor that agreement. Okay? I think, things like that have to be made. And we can't go around backstabbing other countries, backstabbing, you know, other places where we've made agreements where we said, well, we'll help to do this, or, you know, we're the climate issue, the environment and stuff, we'll try to do what we can to lessen the load of our carbon footprint. You know, okay, you know, we have to do all these things and mean it, and not just say, well, we mean it for the next 4 years or the next 8 years, and after that it's anybody's guess. No, that's not the way you make agreements. If I was to go to a bank and get a fucking loan, and I told them, I can do this for at least 4 or 8 years or something, but after that, I don't know. Somebody else will be running this thing. The bank would say, okay, they'd put the papers right in the fucking shredder. Nobody would want to do business with somebody like that. Okay, and no other country should with us if that's the way we're going to play the game. It's not consistent. It's not dependable. It's very duplicitous. Okay, you see what Trump's doing. He's cutting he's cutting all ties to the rest of the world. Okay, that's what he's doing. Every fucking agreement we ever made, he's putting an end to it. And like I said, that's a very deceitful individual. It makes the whole country look bad. The rest of the world is finding out that we can't do business with them anymore. And, you know, the next person coming in is going to have a hell of a time trying to suggest that, you know, we can be trusted again. Because I don't think anyone's going to care. I mean, after a few years, the rest of the world is going to have their own new system set up to do trade with each other. And the United States isn't going to be needed anymore. Okay? And so no one's going to want to go back and put their eggs in the basket, you know, and hope they don't get crushed. So anyway, that's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. So subscribe, comment, and share. And keep your ears open for health issues. And treat each other nice. You know, you live in a community, you know, be a community. Be neighborly. Be helpful. Be there for each other. And I'll talk to you guys later, so take care. Bye-bye.